Judge Joe Brown's all-new barbecue sauce and seasoning. Justice in the form of flavor.
Law firms will take this as a retainer.
What? It must be a law firm where they hungry as hell. Now you gonna help me with this parole I'm dealing with?
Judge Joe Brown's all-new barbecue sauce and seasoning. Justice in the form of flavor. With one taste of our premium blends of all-natural ingredients, herbs, and spices, you'll fall in love with meat all over again. Judge Joe Brown's all-natural barbecue sauce collection is made up of 2 zesty flavors, original and spicy. There's only one way to bring order back to barbecuing. Just add Judge Joe Brown's all-natural barbecue sauce and seasoning, and you be the judge.
I had the mute button. Hi, y'all. Hi, everybody. Hi. Welcome. What is this? I was about to say Man Up Thursdays, honey. It's Monday, June the 3rd. We are in June, honey. This is summertime. Juneteenth coming up. Well, of course, we all know this is Pride Month. We will not be talking about that here. Yeah, summer is out, college is out, summer jobs and the kids are home, the summer schools and the overnight camps. It's June, honey. It's summertime. Go outside, have some fun, but make sure you tune in every Monday and Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern for me and the judge. And I do see the judge in queue, honey. He is on time. So we're going to have a really good show. FYI, I'm going to change up the intro music, because I was listening to it as it was playing today, and I'm like, I really don't like it. So I need to change it up. Probably go back to original. But anyway, let's bring the judge on. Guys, make sure you like this video, share it on all of your social media outlets. Hello to everybody on X. Please repost this on X. And hit the like button. Hi, Judge.
Yo,
how are you?
I'll manage.
So you've had a busy weekend, busy late last week was busy for you. The weekend was busy. Today was busy ever since the Trump verdict. Now we are going to talk about that, but it's because the new developments, but that's going to be later in the show. Because I do want to start off with Dr. Fauci, but anything you want to say in your opening remarks?
Hang in there. It's some strange times. I've never seen anything quite like this in terms of the national, or for that matter, local atmosphere. It's like this LGBT shit show is beginning to become something that's to be crammed down our throats. Memphis Police Department just participated in the Gay Pride Parade with a convertible squad car. Where in the hell they got that, I don't know. Just like a regular squad car, but with the rainbow flag stuff, and then a pink squad car with all of the rest of the insignia and the lights, blue lights and everything. And the mayor, a jackass that he is, came on and said he is going to have the rainbow flag put on every squad car to help out in recruiting gay cops. We're 800 cops short in Memphis, so he wants to try to make them gay. What that's got to do with anything?
Yeah,
we're the violent crime capital of America. And the other thing is government agencies can't use public property to advance causes or cults or anything else. You can't use them to advertise KKK. Wow, of course not. You can't use them to advertise BLM pimps. You can't use them to put the Virgin Mary on the side because that's separation of church and state. You can't put the NAACP on a squad car because that's not appropriate. Where did these balloons come from?
I don't know. They always do that on your side.
The next thing is like, yeah, if you can't do all of these things, then how the hell is it that the local, county, state, and federal governments in some places can cram this stuff down at taxpayers' expense, everybody else's throat?
Yeah.
You know, what is it with the police department, with police officers and on official time pushing LGBTQ? Now, they say this jackass we got for a mayor, I think he's a charter member of the organization. But bottom line is this is the largest predominantly black city in America, but for Black History Month, do you think we had red, black, and green on squad cars to African diaspora or anything
Right.
like that? No. Do you think we were allowed to put that on the squad cars when it came around Easter time? No. Do you think when
I don't even think even Christmas you didn't do Santa Claus or nothing like that. So
no, and
so
you
why
have
do
Ramadan. Do
you
you
get special
think they got to
treatment?
put Islam, the crescent, on
Right,
the side of the squad cars? No. So how
right,
come LGBTQIA?
right. And nobody says anything.
And we got a new LGBTQIA commission in Memphis. And we just are spending 100-some thousand for the salary of the new director. She's a lesbian black woman with a white wife, and
But
we're
let me
paying
say
her,
this.
wait a minute, we're paying her $100,000, and there's a multi-million-dollar budget for an LGBTQIA commission. This is being the largest predominantly black city in America. How about a black commission for
Yeah,
that matter, or something like that? No, we don't have any money spent on that. And the idiot's idea that he's pushing is midnight basketball for 13 through 18-year-olds. And the thing that's really stupid about that is there's a 10 p.m. curfew for minors. So for the week, you want these minors to be out after curfew playing basketball, and school isn't out, so you want them to be missing out on sleep and homework and study time to play basketball. Plus, Memphis being Memphis, you set these up, all you're doing is setting up kill zones for people to get done in.
yeah.
So what the hell is this idiocy going on here?
And let me just say this, because I did say in the opening statements, yes, this is Pride Month, but we're not talking about Pride Month.
Fuck pride. That ain't pride for me. What the hell have we got to celebrate how somebody gets their nuts off or gets their orgasms? You know, how about if we have doggy style month, you know, or we like to get it with the lady on top, reverse cowgirl on top, you know. That is the dumbest ass piece of shit I've ever heard of. It's your business to get your freak on the way you get it on in your bedroom. But why the hell are we trying to celebrate how you do it?
Well, I did say we are not going to talk about pride here. I want to move on from that. But those were your opening statements.
Yeah, and also more wrongdoing with Trump. And I see that Johnson, the Speaker of the House, has announced that the investigations have already started of Bragg and this idiot judge up in New York who violated every damn precept of American justice. What's that? I can't see it. There's nothing. All I see is a blue banner at the bottom.
It says Missionary May.
Missionary what?
Missionary May, because when you said doggy style, you know, June or whatever, missionary, because like, you know, you when talking about that.
Yeah, I know. Think about it.
From LGBTQ people, I don't want to talk about them, because listen, let me say something about that. The reason why they're just like Jewish people, they operate their legislator and get stuff passed in their favor. So when it's their month, they have everything on lock.
Well, let's put it this way. Back 19 I'm gonna say one last thing. 1967, I first heard on college campuses all around the country. I think I was a sophomore. And what they were doing is they were promising to take over all of the political parties, or at least infiltrate the Democratic Party very heavily, because the Democratic Party's posture on Black and other minority affairs dovetailed into what they were doing. And from looking at the Black Caucus's membership roster and the pictures, and the fact that they've got some other people who aren't Black who are members, and then looking at the Freedom Caucus's membership in the pictures. Freedom Caucus, by the way, is the Congressional LGBTQIA plus caucus. The membership is almost the same. There are a whole bunch of white people in the Black caucus who are also members of the gay caucus. And the operative head of the Congressional Black Caucus's Reparations Committee is a gay, white, Jewish congressman named Steve Cohen from Memphis, Tennessee, occupying Tennessee's 9th congressional district. Real cute. See, it's like we don't have Black representation. LGBTQIA has extended representation, which is a lot of its representatives, I think -5 out of the whole caucus setup, are also colored folk too. So you can see it how they behave.
Mm-hmm. Well, moving on, I don't want to talk about them.
I don't either.
Yeah, so I want to talk about Dr. Fauci, because he spoke in front of Congressional Congress today. Did you catch any of it? I do have like a small clip that I will share.
No, I didn't catch it. It's called the sci-fi problem.
Remind me after the show to talk to you about something, because people think I don't see them. This is sidebar. I see the locations of people who go on my website. So when certain cities pop up outside of the main cities, I kind of know who that person is. Don't come lurking on my stuff trying to grab something to try to use against me, because you can't. All of my things are legally bound and tight and sealed. So don't play with me, but I'll tell you what I'm talking about after the show.
Okay, let me say something about what you're getting with Fauci. It's the sci-fi problem. Mm-hmm. It's been a staple of science fiction for the last 80, 90 years. And what it is the general public can't handle the truth. They'll panic. So the scientists and the people that know have to hide the truth from them. And then when the truth comes out, everybody's freaked out. So what they did with COVID-19, when they did not fully understand it, they gave all of these excuses instead of being candid about what they had. So now when more information leaks out between 2019 and in 2024, 5 years later, it looks just like sci-fi stuff. The consequences of saying the public will panic if they know the truth, or the public will panic if they know the details, or that we don't, so we have to smooth it over and conceal what's actually going on from them. And that's what you're getting. And these are the consequences. Explain why we got bullshit from you. Why didn't you just tell us it's a pandemic and we don't really know what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
This is our best estimate and this is our best response, but we aren't sure about it.
Right. So this is, Marjorie Green, honey, she comes with it. So this is a piece of the congressional hearing, and it says chaos erupt as Marjorie Taylor Greene, I can't see. Marjorie Taylor Greene lobes personal attack at Fauci, and the Democrats lobs.
I can't even see that, but I'm doing that AI thing. That would be the predictive if you had an iPhone.
LOBS.
Yeah, lobs. In other words, he lobbed a overhead shot and got a 3-pointer in the basketball game. In other words, lob, or he lobbed the hand grenade into the trench.
Okay.
It's a toss.
Okay. Personal attack. So she tossed a personal attack at Fauci, and the Democrats end up stopping it here. I just want to play just a couple of minutes, not too much.
Oh, he left?
Can you hear that?
Yeah, he left.
I now recognize Ms. Green from Georgia for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Fauci, you were quoted on CBS Face the Nation saying it's easy to criticize, but they're really criticizing science because I represent science. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci?
I am a scientist who uses the scientific method to gain information.
Yes, you said you represent science. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci? Yes
Again,
or no? Yes or no?
No, that's not a yes or no
Yes,
answer.
it's a yes or no.
I don't think it is.
Okay, well, we'll take that as a you don't know what you represent.
Oh,
But this, as director of the NIH, you did sign off on these so-called scientific experiments. And as a dog lover, I want to tell you this is disgusting and evil, what you signed off on, and these experiments that happened to beagles paid for by the American taxpayer. And I want you to know Americans don't pay their taxes for animals to be tortured like this. So the type of science that you are representing, Mr. Fauci, is abhorrent, and it needs to stop. Mr. Fauci, you also represent the type of science that where you confess that you made up the COVID rules, including
I didn't hear what you
6
said.
feet social distancing and masking of children.
I never said I made anything up.
You admitted that you made it up. You
I
made it
didn't
up
say
as you went.
I made it up.
So are you saying this is fake news, Mr. Fauci?
I didn't say I made anything up.
What did you say?
I said that it is not based in science and it just appeared.
But this is science.
What does dogs have to do with anything that we're talking about today?
These are scientific experiments. This is what you signed off on. But you also told the American people they had to distance by 6 feet. They had to wear masks. But let's also talk a little bit further about the type of science that you represent. NIH scientists made $710 million in royalties from drug makers, a fact that's been hidden. Let's talk about the fact about, is it right for scientists and doctors getting paid by the American people, government taxpayer paychecks, to get patents where they're paid millions and hundreds of millions of dollars in royalty fees, especially when the NIH and these government agencies, most powerful agencies in our country, are recommending medical suggestions and advice and making up guidelines like 6 feet distancing and masking of children. Do you think that's appropriate? Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci? Because you're not doctor, you're Mr. Fauci in my few minutes. No, I don't need your answer. I want to talk about this right here.
Mr. Chairman,
Fauci,
objection.
Objection. I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time, Mr. Raskin.
Gentlelady will suspend.
Mr. Chairman,
Point of order.
Just in terms of the rules of decorum, are we allowed to deny that a doctor is a doctor just because we don't want him to be a doctor?
Yes, because in my time, that man does not deserve to have a license. As a matter of fact, it should be revoked, and he belongs in
Gentlelady will
prison.
suspend. The gentlelady should recognize the doctor as a doctor.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, is this what we have become?
VFly is a company that helps your YouTube videos go viral.
Give me a second.
Is this what we have devolved into? No decorum.
You know what? We can do that hearing about the poor men that were injected with syphilis because I support you in that. That's horrific. And this government that does things like that to Americans doesn't have decorum to the American people.
Mr. Chairman,
The gentleman is out of
point of regular order, please.
The gentleman is out of order.
Decorum.
Recognize
The medical community.
as I said at the beginning, members.
All right. So I just want to play. I'm not going to play the whole thing. It was 10 minutes. But they always saying decorum, out of order, blah, blah,
Well,
blah.
it's a parliamentary thing where you stall or you disrupt the flow of somebody's presentation. And I understand it. I had to study Robert's Rules of Order and memorize a great deal of the book, Robert's Rules of Order. Robert's Rules of Order, when I was in the 9th grade, they don't teach that stuff anymore. But anyway, I understand exactly what she's doing. It's what he's doing. It's a thing to break it up, disrupt it, and you scatter the thing out so people don't get the continuity of what somebody's saying. It's broken up and it causes little snippets to be out there, which can be used for other purposes. Now, perhaps she defeated her own purpose by trying to editorialize by saying, I don't consider you a doctor, but she should have called him a doctor. She should have backed off because it gave them more ammunition. Freedom of speech allows what it is. They tried to insert decorum, but the Democratic Party is the most indecorous bunch of assholes I've seen in a long time when it comes to what they do in Parliament, and they use what they're doing as obstructions. Now, I don't want to get back into this, but an exemplar is if you watch the proceedings in the OJ trial 25, 30 years ago, you saw it when Marcia Clark and Joe Darden got up and got to objection, overruled, counselor. And Judge Ito was saying, sit down, sit down. The court has already ruled. And so, sir, did you objection? What now? Would you sit down? See, in other words, it was an effort to disrupt, but it backfires if you hear it all, because it's like, when you are so obviously trying to break up the continuity of what somebody's doing, it looks like you're trying to hide something, and that's exactly what it looks like. So this is standard procedure. The Democrats do it all the time. The Republicans do it. It's just how we have devolved, where the thing is accusatory, and frankly, Joe McCarthy started this stuff back in the late 50s when he was doing that red scare, red baiting stuff. And this kind of thing has become habitual, and it has expanded until it has gotten real nasty, and it lacks the humor of what you would hear through the British Parliament when they crack jokes and run the dozens on each other. Mr. Speaker, the representatives from folks is obviously behaving in a retarded fashion. Perhaps his mother was a little, shall we say, slow when it came to figuring things out, and she passed it on to him. Well, they're wolfing on each other. Obviously, that's the thing that happened, where they make a humorous thing out of it rather than slapping somebody across the face with a gauntlet and having a duel at dawn the next day.
Well,
so
I want to interject this because a lot of people made a lot of money during the pandemic, and a lot of
did, and that's a valid point,
right? But again, the hypocrisy of Congress, Democrats and Republicans, they had a lot of investments in pharmaceutical companies too. So the NIH scientists made $710 million in royalties from drug makers.
There ought to be legislation that forbids that. A lot of states have legislation that forbids that, where if you work for a governmental entity, you cannot maintain a profitable patent that you develop while on government time. It belongs to the government.
Right.
And the other thing that's bogus about it is if you work for CDC and come up with a patentable drug, then CDC, the U.S. government, owns the patent rights. If you are a senator or a congressman, you've got no business making an investment in an entity that is subject to the legislation that you pass.
Right.
Now, that is inappropriate.
So it says new data from the National Institutes of Health reveal the agency and its scientists collected $710 million in royalties during the pandemic from late 2021 through 2023. These are payments made by private companies like pharmaceuticals to licensed medical innovations.
You get royalties.
Yeah.
So many dollars on every or so many cents on every dollar or percentages of every dollar that the company makes based on the royalties they've taken out. Unless these royalties were developed before the individual got on board with, say, CDC, that's inappropriate. And then there should be a hiatus in the collection of these profits while the person is holding the government job.
So do you think Fauci, should go to prison?
He hasn't done anything criminal. What he did was unethical, but not criminal.
But do you think his license should be taken away?
No, not yet. It hasn't got to that point because it won't happen, and it shouldn't, because what's going on is judgment calls that are bullshit calls, but not necessarily evil. Mm-hmm. What I said is what is happening here is the sci-fi thing. In other words, the public is too stupid, ignorant, and too scary and likely to panic, so you must conceal the truth from them at all costs, and you mislead them, but it always backfires. You can look at any sci-fi thing, series on TV, movie, or whatever, going back the last 80-some years until you go back into just radio, and you'll see this. The public will panic. We can't let them know the truth. Well, see, this kind of thing percolates out of the movies and out of the entertainment industry, out of the literature that is consumed, down even to scientists. So they grew up with this. The day the world stood still, that was redone as a recent movie about 20 years ago, 25, 20 some years ago. But the original ones, it's like War of the Worlds and that kind of thing. We can't tell the truth because the world will panic. And then they had the thing, War of the Worlds, H.G. Wells, where the Martians invaded. And they did a radio show back in the 30s where it was for Halloween, and all they were doing was doing a reenactment, an enactment of War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, and people actually jumped off of bridges committing suicide when they thought it was real. There were all kinds of accidents, panics, and all kinds of things going wrong. So that reinforced everybody's idea that, a big idea of you can't tell the public, they'll panic, and they relied upon that radio show on Halloween night about War of the Worlds, where the aliens invaded from space. I don't need
a synopsis of that movie.
No, but not synopsis. If you want to see it, look at what's his name? He's the guy that starred in Mission Impossible. What's his name? Tom Cruise. He did War of the Worlds. It was miscast because it should have been a woman playing the part, because he played a woman's part, cried and all this other shit. And if you want to see War of the Worlds, it's a pretty good rendition of it with Tom Cruise.
Let's get back to Fauci. I want to play this clip real quick. And this is Dr. Fauci says that COVID vaccines were under president accomplishment, and says they were highly effective, right before saying it's complicated when asked if the vaccine stopped transmission. Let me know if you can hear this.
Less than 11 months after.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
The identification of this new virus, safe and highly effective vaccines were widely available, an unprecedented accomplishment in the history of vaccinology that saved tens of millions of lives worldwide.
Did the COVID vaccine stop transmission of the virus?
That is a complicated issue because in the beginning, the first iteration of the vaccines did have an effect, not 100%, not a high effect. They did prevent infection and subsequently, obviously, transmission. However, it's important to point out something that we did not know early on that became evident as the months went by, is that the durability of protection against infection and hence transmission was relatively limited, whereas the duration of protection against severe disease, hospitalization, and deaths was more prolonged. We did not know that in the beginning. In the beginning, it was felt that, in fact, it did prevent infection and thus transmission, but that was proven as time went by to not be a durable effect.
What the hell is he talking about?
I know exactly what he's talking about. In other words, right now, we don't know, but we think this works. And in fact, it turns out that it does have some positive effect on reducing the incidence of one, infection, but now we find out not so much about the infection. Two, it has a great deal to do with the severity of any infection that is incurred. But they didn't know that. So instead of saying, we think right now that it will prevent infection, but we are not sure. So you take it at a risk, but it's worth taking. Now, for some people, it worked, and for some people, it did not. When they had the first polio vaccine back in the early 50s, when people left cities, when the outbreaks came, to get out of the urban areas where the infections were highest, people knew that there were going to be a certain percentage of folk that would die, but you had a large percentage of the population that had been through the Korean War, which was still going on at the time, by the way. A large percentage of the population that had been through World War II and World War I, their relatives had been through, they had been through it themselves, and they were used to taking chances, and it got explained to you. Out of every 253,000 so people, 4 or 5 are going to wind up dying because they're going to have that adverse infection. But based on the latest research, this is the best we can do to keep you from getting this horrible disease. So everybody lined up for it, and they would report on the fatalities that came about, but they would basically say, be brave, it's likely to help you out. So now polio vaccine is routine. And in those days, you had to get a shot rather than taking that pink dot on a sugar cube, which is much easier than it was before. But you see, they broke it down to the public because they did not presume that the public was going to panic if they told them the ins and outs and up and downs. And I guess today the public feeling that it's entitled to be absolutely safe from everything, bring brother in and giving up all of your rights.
Right,
you know,
right. Well,
it is.
I think what it is today is we want to be informed because we can make our own decisions if we want to take it or not. Don't force us to be mandated. Don't force us saying that, well, if you don't take it, you're going to lose your job and this, that, and the other. So yes, we want to be informed, but we want to be informed so that we can make a decision for ourselves and our families.
But you see, we didn't have that option back then. If you didn't get the vaccine, which became the SALT vaccine, if you didn't get the measles, well, there were no shots for measles, but diphtheria, whooping cough, typhus, typhoid. No, I mean, I'm just running down the ones we had to get shots for. You couldn't get a job. You couldn't go to school. You couldn't go to college. You have to have these things. It was absolute. Just like you didn't want to get drafted, but you got drafted and sent overseas. And, you know, understand the Korean War is going on while this stuff is developing. World War II was over less than 7 years. And that was no time for most of the adults who had experienced it directly or as a side effect. So they were used to being given mandates that were absolute, that you didn't have any discretion on whether or not you're following. It was a different day. Now people think they can make choices about certain things.
Okay, so because I want to move on to the next, but so is Dr. Fauci in the wrong?
What he did was he pushed the sci-fi thing. The public's too ignorant to be candid with. If they had been candid with the public on the front end, I think it would have made a big difference. In other words, what you actually know and what you don't know, instead of trying to say, we got to keep them from panicking, we got to give them hope. No, sometimes we need bleakness. Pearl Harbor hit. The whole country was going, oh my God, what happened? The U.S. Navy got sunk the way it came across. who are these Japanese? You
Right.
see, but we handled it.
But Fauci and people like him and others benefited and became multimillionaires and wealthy.
That isn't it. We got a son of a bitch in the White House right now who's had a civil service job his whole damn life, and he's a multimillionaire, and the only way you can exchange one for the other is to be a damn crook who's getting kickbacks, who's getting bribes, and ought to be in jail.
Right. So that's what I'm saying with Dr. Fauci is I'm putting him as a crook. And I don't want to go.
But we haven't heard anything that he personally got it. What we have is an atmosphere of corruption that spread through the whole government, local, state, and federal these days, which has gotten worse because it's not just small bribes under the table. It is massive corruption and misappropriation of public funds from top to bottom. And it has become endemic, and it has caused a great deal of dysfunction. Plus, we have this LGBTQIA poison that's getting spread around where folk get the idea. No, I mean, it applies to this, where people get the idea that a special interest can be financed by the government. Now, right now, for example,
slow down, because being that you brought up LGBTQ, and we're talking about Dr. Fauci, you know, during the AIDS epidemic, it was a lot of corruption with that.
No, I'm going to say this.
Wait, let me just say this. And they use the gay community as guinea pigs. That is
I don't give a damn about that. But here, look, let me tell you about the epidemic. It is about to hit again. CDC has been trying to get the news stations, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, whatever, ABC, Fox, all of them, CNN, to carry public service announcements that HIV is becoming a massive problem again, and they won't carry it. So the problem is we have a situation where, for a number of reasons, and in this case, it's private industry involved in the communications industry, that is preventing the information that does need to get out about something that has been a scourge for humankind around the world. HIV is getting to be epidemic again, but the stations, mainstream media, is refusing to allow advisements to that effect to be heard because they say it's bad for business. So this thing is endemic to our whole system.
Okay. So I want to move on to the illegals.
The criminals who've crashed the border, who have done crimes, raped, murdered people, extorted people, had gang fights, and have infiltrated the country with military-aged young males who are operating for Al-Qaeda, Hamas, ISIS, for the Chinese People's Republic, for all kinds of stuff, for the Ukrainians who are pissed off, for those who wanted to shoot down B-1B bombers but can't. So, wow, we can walk across the goddamn border.
Let me play the clip, because it's illegal migrants in New York City shot cops earlier today or late Sunday. So let me play this clip.
Morning, Michelle. While an active investigation continues here, we just learned from the NYPD's top brass that their officers were addressing a robbery issue here in the East Helmer section of Queens. That's when they saw a person who was on a scooter who was going in the wrong direction. They tried to pull over that person who was on a scooter, but then that pursuit continued to be on foot. That is when that suspect had shot at officers and they had exchanged gunfire, as you're seeing right now overhead from choppers. Still an active scene here in East Helmhurst as an hours-long investigation is now underway. Police tell us right now that they have identified that suspect, 19-year-old Bernardo Raul Castro Mata. He's the suspect from Venezuela who entered via an Eagle Paso, Texas in 2023 and now lives at the former Marriott, which has since turned into a shelter. Well, he is now recovering at New York Presbyterian Hospital. Well, take a look at your screen right now. This is the gun that was recovered at the scene of the suspect that was shot. It was one officer was shot in the upper leg, the other officer was grazed in the stomach, and the young male suspect was shot in the right ankle. Well, moments ago, we learned more about the suspect who is now in police custody. Let's take a listen.
Our shooter has been identified as Bernardo Raul Castro Mata. He is 19 years old. He has no prior arrest in New York City. However, he is a suspect in several robbery patterns currently going on in the borough of Queens.
Senseless act of violence, a total disregard for life. Our officers responded with a level of discipline, a level of focus, a level of professionalism.
You dumb son of a bitch, you invited his ass in. And
right now, there's just so much happening in our world.
Stop. He's staying at a luxury hotel, a 5-star hotel, courtesy of taxpayers in the United States. And he had a piece of shit, the High Point pistol, a straight blowback thing, that is a heavyweight clunker, that is an ill-designed abomination mechanically. So, you know, New York has one. Don't they have a very strict gun control thing in New York? How did he get his hardware? He couldn't buy it across the counter. It's totally illegal for an illegal immigrant to buy or purchase a firearm. How did he get it? And you've got the toughest gun control laws in America. Whoa, my God, that should have stopped it, shouldn't it? And you've got no citizens in there significantly who were legally armed who could have stopped this shit. So, oh my God, you've got this kind of clown show going on, and you stupid son of a bitch, you invited them in and nobody checked anybody. This is exactly what I'm talking about. No implementation of checks, background checks to see if somebody's a good citizen. No checking into a U.S. embassy or consulate in the foreign country before getting a visa to have immigration into the United States. You jackass son of a bitches, you're just trying to run a game, so you allow these folk just to crash the goddamn border, and you are engaged in a conspiracy to conceal, to aid, abet, give comfort, and to escape proper apprehension for breaking American law. So all of these clowns that set up these sanctuary things ought to be prosecuted for conspiracy under American law. Every last goddamn one of them. And the rest of them ought to be disciplined for failing to abide by the oaths they took to uphold the Constitution of the United States, which is a prerequisite to hold a public office anywhere in the country.
The officers, they you know, they did not die. The bulletproof vest helped, you know, really save their life, and which is good. So I want to read this because what also came out was, and this is the illegal Savage that shot at the cops. Migrant accused of shooting 2 NYPD cops had immigration case dismissed within a year of illegally crossing into the United States. Let me just pull this up. It says, all these damn ads. Shit.
By the way,
let me just say this. The Venezuelan migrant accused of shooting 2 NYPD cops during the early hours of Monday morning crossed into the U.S. illegally last year, but the case against him has already been dismissed. Bernardo Castro Mata, 19, who shot one officer in the chest and another in the leg after they attempted to stop his moped in Queens, had a hearing in Chicago on May 6th where an immigration judge closed his case, according to ICE. The information emerged less than 24 hours after the Post exposed the Biden administration's dismissal of asylum cases and deportation orders against 350,000 migrants because they didn't have criminal records or aren't deemed national security threats. Well, how in the hell how do you know they're not security threats when you didn't scan none of these people? You just
how'd he get the goddamn pistol, the High Point piece of shit?
Right. So, but this is on the heels of the Biden administration dismissing asylum cases and deportation orders.
Well, let's get to this.
Migrants.
Let's get to this. The chief executive of the United States of America, aka the President of the United States, and the Vice President, under Article 2, Section 4 of the United States Constitution, can be impeached and, if convicted, removed from office and never allowed to hold another office again under the 12th Amendment. The third clause of that article says that impeachment is appropriate and conviction if proved to the satisfaction of the tribunal, which is the Senate, that someone has committed a misdemeanor or felony in office. Actually, the felony is designated as a high crime. Now, what is it? They broke their oath to enforce the law. So selectively, the son of a bitch that's sitting in the White House right now decides that there will be no enforcement of the immigration laws of the United States of America, even though he swore an oath to uphold them. So all of the senators and congressmen that have attempted to get around that without changing the law, they're all guilty too, and they can be found to have violated their oaths of office and removed through impeachment proceedings. They are not, because they feel that they are immune. So when in the hell did it get appropriate for us to have executive officers, to have legislative officers who feel free to disregard the laws of the United States of America with impunity, break them and assist others and conspire to see to it that no consequences for the breaking of these vital laws occur? I swear you need to pay attention, because everybody got freaked out by 911. Something much worse is in store. They don't have to hijack an aircraft. They don't have to hijack 4 of them. They can do it now easily. They don't have to parachute in, take a helicopter in. They don't need to get in a rubber boat from a submarine. They can walk across the damn border. They can be transported to the targeted cities by the U.S. government. Nobody checks their luggage. They can bring in military-grade explosives and other war devices, RPGs, with nobody's scrutiny, position themselves to do great devastation to the United States of America and its citizens and its properties whenever they're called upon to do it. You've got all of these military-aged personnel, young males, and they're staying in these easily transported shelters that they can carry in a backpack with mechanical stoves of the type that you can easily break down and carry between 4 individuals, and they're assembling them in their encampments. If that isn't a giveaway that you got a military operation on, you're a damn fool, and the administration of this country is leaving this nation wide open to retaliation from the Middle East, from the Ukraine area, from the People's Republic of China, and everybody else that's got a grievance against us that does not have a strategic air command. It does not have B-52s, B-1Bs, B-2As. It does not have F-35s to go deal with what they want to do, F-A-18 Super Hornets, and it can blow the hell out of us, and we're sitting here with unprotected borders and these damn fools who don't have a clue as to what they've let in.
All right, let me read this. Those migrants, and you need to take a breath. Those migrants
I don't have to. I practice this.
Yeah, but we have a whole bunch of other stuff to talk about. Those migrants are also under no obligation to leave the country and are no longer monitored by immigration and customs enforcement, ICE, making them undocumented. So
they're going to kill a lot of people. How many people died on 911?
All right, so let's move
How
on.
many thousand died 911?
I don't know. It was a lot.
3,200 minimum. So you think that was a lot? These son of a bitches are all over the United States of America awaiting orders. They're going to kill a lot more because they won't have to hijack airliners and crash into 2 buildings and maybe the Pentagon. They will have military grade explosives that they probably already stashed where they want them to be when they're supposed to be detonated. So they're in San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, they're in Sacramento, they're in Denver, they're in Flagstaff, Arizona, Las Vegas, they're in Reno, and then we go all
over. They're all over in every sanctuary city. We know that. Gotta be kidding me. It says no feed video. I did not come off. Let me text him. He won't upgrade his phone. The shit is cloned. And he won't get a new phone because he's worried about everything he wrote in this current phone from decades ago. I'm like, who doesn't back up their stuff? Why would you leave it in the cell phone? So I don't know what the hell happened. He just dropped out. It says no feed video. I wonder why. This is why I don't like when he gets to rambling, like in these long sentences. Yeah, like what's going on?
Well, I just got on my phone. It says an unauthorized device has been, etc., to my phone, and it says it may be a sophisticated eavesdropper, etc., etc. This just went off. It cut me off right in the middle of talking about
it did. Yes, it did. And this is why I'm telling you to just get a new goddamn phone because your phone
It ain't my phone. I am getting a message that somebody is in on this. Every time, look, it always happens when certain things come up. This is a giveaway that Big Brother, Big Sister now that she put on blue panties and sports bra and still got a dick, she or he is listening in to what we're doing. This is where America is going.
One second.
This is this corrupt son of a bitch is trying to break our rights.
Stop. It's not me that I need to watch my words. It's really him. That's why I'm just like, just stop.
Yeah, well, I'm angry. And by the way, this foul language is not subject to modern censorship. It's just ideas now that used to be freely discussed. We're talking about national security and a jackass fool in the White House and a bunch of administrative jerks who have an idea that it's best for them to tear the United States down so they can get their sick agenda in place. That's what's going on. That's been a topic that's been wide open for the history of the United States. But now all of a sudden you can't touch it. So, yeah. What's going on here? Low down creeps, they're sitting here paying attention. Big brother, now big sister who wants to change pronouns.
Why they paying attention to you? You're not, you know.
Yeah, me. I looked at my dossier years ago. I mean, yeah.
Like who are you? Why they paying attention to you? You know, you got what?
Because the Army gave me a damn scholarship. They wanted
but you technically don't you got one foot in the grave.
Yeah, but I have a voice and I speak out against the son of a bitches. I don't give a damn. I've got nothing to lose, so I open my mouth. They don't want that. They want stupid, airheaded idiots to waste the public's time talking about nonsense and who's screwing who somewhere that nobody gives a damn, in one kind of little hustle and pimp game where they're trying to work it and talk about Black Lives Matter and white supremacy bullshit. I'm talking about the real deal, and it's dangerous to them. You see, tell a lie long enough, loud enough, you can get anybody, including the liar, to believe it. The truth is very dangerous, and the truth will set you free, and I'm trying to spread the truth. And they don't want it, so it's predictable. At least when I initially say it and I got a roll going on, I'll get cut off. Now, if I got another roll going on about these stupid, creepy son of a bitches that are trying to distort, destroy, and subvert the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, then they're going to cut me off. I'm surprised they didn't right then. And see, every time they do now, it pops up in the bottom of my screen. It says, warning. It says, an unauthorized device is attempted to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I put something on here, and that's what it did. It showed up on mine just when it happened. I'll send you what it says. I just got it.
You still need to get a new phone.
What in the hell? It just went off. It says enter passcode to resume. Oh, God damn.
You're doing too much right about now.
Hold on a second. I'm going to send you what's up so you can put it on the screen. Just screenshot it. I'll go to something, just talk something. I'll shut up while I'm doing that.
Oh, I was muted. Can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me now? Testing, testing. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? No sound, no sound, no sound. Let's see. Yes, thank you. God damn, y'all so slow with the damn things. All right.
I'm going to send you.
You're doing too much tonight, Judge.
So you will see what I'm talking about.
All right. And your thing went out because you want a thing. Guys, go to the website, therealdatanetwork.com, sign up to the mailing list. And like I said, if you want to send a donation, please do so. If you have a question, thank you to Walter. I'm going back to StreamYards. I really am. I'm going back to StreamYards. Not the overlay. Thank you to Rican saying with Venezuelans, F Trump. Okay. Well, you're about to be deported come November, honey. Okay. Walter with the $10. Thank you. Who is this? Catelia. I love this show. Yes. Oh, at Catelia. This is from RGTM. And who is this? Poppo, Naya, Shelly. Yo, listen, I love y'all. The chemistry is golden. Keep speaking the truth. Wake more, grow up. He spelled it Knee. Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. And thank you. Somebody became a member. Who was it? Thank you, Peace Chasers. He became a member. Yeah, honey. Judge, you're doing a lot tonight. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm gonna send you what I got here.
Child.
And you can read it. You can read it.
All
Put
right.
it on the screen.
Well, you ain't sent it to me yet.
Well, I am. Hold on.
All right. Well, I also want to. So moving on, because we got to talk about the new Mexico new president, and of course we got to talk about Donald Trump, SCOTUS, the House Speaker, and Fox interview. Got to talk about Fani Willis, and I want to talk about the DEI grant that the federal government says no, baby, you cannot get no grant. All right. So what is this? Let me see.
This is what I just got when I pressed options. Read the first one. Unauthorized device may have been added to Joseph B's account. Options. Hit options. And the next thing that comes up, I edited it, says, or that a sophisticated attacker may be attempted to eavesdrop on the conversation. That's coming through my damn phone. That's what the problem is.
How do I share this on here? God.
See, Big Sister is listening. Big Sister still has a dick, but wearing blue panties and sports bra.
Mm.
Look at that. That's a goddamn shame that this happens in the United States of America in 2024, in the 21st century. It's been 235 years since the United States of America was formed. Whatever its flaws, whatever its shortcomings, they've been working on it. And now you got some panty-wearing assholes, still got swinging dicks, who are trying to come back and destroy what America's been about and ruin the progress and get everybody to think it's white supremacy where it isn't. It's somebody trying to impose on a system of philosophy on this country. It is inappropriate for this country to support any particular perspective, whether it is BLM, the KKK, Johnny Reb flags, whether it is what the hell it is.
We can't see you. We cannot see you.
Oh, damn. What now?
So you're going to have to come out and come back in. We can't, because every time you go in your phone to do something, now I can see you.
Yeah, I talked about them. Listening.
I don't want to talk about them no more. You won't get a new goddamn phone, so I really don't care. I want to move on to the next topic.
I actually was borrowing somebody else's. I borrowed somebody else's phone the other day when I was calling into somebody's show, and the same damn thing happened. I went to my phone, it happened. I went back to their phone, and it happened. Big Brother is
Get a new phone.
It's not a new phone.
Your phone was cloned.
It's not my phone. The other day,
I
borrowed a relative's phone that they had no connection with. And as soon as I got to talking about this on the call-in show that I was on, it did the same damn thing. And that's on somebody else's damn phone.
People in the chat, let me know when your phone is cloned. If you get a new phone, that would definitely help when a phone is to avoid your phone being cloned. You're supposed to get a new.
if I get a new phone, I'd have to get a new number, which meant that I would have to give up what's on iCloud, which is 19 years worth of documents, writing.
Why didn't you? First of all, why didn't you back that up? Why didn't you save it somewhere?
It up. It's backed up to the
oh,
cloud.
Yeah, okay, if it's on the cloud, honey,
it
you can
doesn't
retrieve
make any difference. If I get a new, wait a minute, when you back that
Can
stuff
somebody
up,
who is techie come up on this show?
When you back it up, you also back up all of the other information that's in your system, including the hack. I know the phone number of the son of a bitch that cloned it. I know the serial number of the phone he's using. I know the name he's using. Every time I try to download
you could get wait. You could get a new phone, but you could also have the same number.
No, you can't, because it backs it up. Remember, there are 2 cell phones with different serial numbers using my phone number. And if I get a third, Apple's telling me that person, until I get it off, will be also using my new phone. So the point—
Do me a favor. Because now, wait, Judge, stop. Because your audio is a little off, because it's a 2-3 second delay. Can you go out and come back in?
Let me try it.
Because I want to talk about the Mexican president.
Okay. Let's try it this
so
way.
Just go out.
Let's talk about 2 minutes worth.
No. I need you to go out and come back in. Just go out and
see
come
if
back
it improves. If I talk 2 minutes,
it's not going to improve.
About what celebrity is screwing what celebrity.
It's not going to improve. I need you to go out and come back in. This is now a technical issue. It's a technical issue. It is a technical issue.
Because
can you go out and come back in?
It just said again that Big Brother has—
all right, I want you to go out and come back in. Go out and come back in. Just go out and come back in, please. We can't beat the government, honey. And I'm not trying to beat Big Brother.
Yes, we can. November's coming up.
I'm not doing it right now in this show. I'm not doing it right now in this show, honey. I got a whole bunch of life to live. This man, honey, you done made your millions tenfold over. I have not. And you got 10 of your toes already in the grave. I don't. So I ain't trying to sit up here and fight with Big Brother right now. They don't think I'm smart enough anyway, and that's fine. Honey, he done made his money, his connections, his intelligence, his kids, wives, all that. Travel the world, lived, honey. Yes, I ain't doing none of that. Well, I did a lot, but I still got a lot of living, honey. We can't beat Big Brother in this 2-hour show. We just can't. And I'm not trying to. Shit. Here we go.
Fascist son of a bitches. Let's see you screw this up. Which you will. But November's coming up. We're going to turn your bastard asses out. And there's some people coming in that'll put every one of you son of a bitches in a federal penitentiary. Scurrilous, underhanded dogs.
Okay. So let's talk about the Mexican president. Wait. What is this? All right, let's get rid of that. You a troublemaker.
I've been doing this for the last 60 years.
Wait a minute. What is that? Okay. This is the wrong one, not this one. This one.
Oh, cowards, I can't stand them.
I'm about to go back to StreamYard. All right. I don't want this one. I want it this way. A scientist, a leftist, and a former Mexico City mayor Who is Claudia Sheinbaum? She is the new president of Mexico, right? She would be Mexico's first woman leader in the nation's more than 200 years of independence. She captured the presidency by promising continuity. How you
She's
pronounce
Jewish too, which is interesting in a Catholic nation.
Right. She's 61, former Mexico City mayor, a lifelong leftist, ran a disciplined campaign capitalizing on her predecessor's popularity before emerging victorious in Sunday's vote, according to official quick count. But with her victory now in hand, Mexicans will look to see how Sheinbaum, a very different personality from mentor and current president Obrador, will assert herself. While she hewed close to Lopez Obrador politically and shares many of his ideas about the government's role in addressing inequality, she is viewed as less combative and more data-driven.
Yeah, and how about the mayor just got assassinated who was running for re-election in an adjoining city?
Right. Sheinbaum's background is in science. She has a PhD in energy engineering. Her brother is a physicist. In 2023 interview with Associated Press, Sheinbaum said, "I believe in science. Observers say that grounding showed itself in Sheinbaum's BAUM, that I think is bombs. Sheinbaum actions as mayor during the COVID-19 pandemic, when her city of more than 9 million people took a different approach from what Lopez Obrador espoused at the nation's level." It was another article that I had saved that kind of went into her Jewish background, because she is not so much a practicing Jewish person. She's saying it's more so culture. Yes, this.
Look at Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel. He claims he's an atheist, but he's staunchly a part of the Jewish culture.
Right. So, okay, she will also be the first Jewish president in a country with one of the largest Catholic populations, though she's not religiously observant. Sheinbaum identifies as culturally Jewish and has spoken about her heritage in the past. "I grew up without religion. That's how my parents raised me." But obviously the culture that's in your blood. Her maternal grandparents were Jews who immigrated to Mexico from Bulgaria before the Holocaust, while her parental grandparents had fled from Lithuania in the 1920s. Sheinbaum's parents were born in Mexico. While campaigning, Sheinbaum said,
had parents not been born in Mexico, she couldn't have held a government job.
Right. But her parents were born in Mexico to European Jews, right? Which means they're not even Latin. She's not Latin.
No, she's not. But you're classified as Latino if your native language is Latin, meaning Espanol or Portuguese.
Right. And she was born and raised there as well.
Well, it doesn't make any difference.
Would you still be considered Latin if you're born and raised there?
If you're born and raised there, you have problems unless your grandparents were also made citizens. You can't hold certain offices. Now, we don't give a damn. Anybody that can crash the border is a criminal. We welcome them. We'll put them to work and cut American citizens out of their jobs, benefits, health care, put them up in 5-star, 4-star hotels at government expense and give them a paycheck and transportation and access to acquiring.
Yeah, I don't want to go back into the
migrant. They didn't even have to, maybe
wait,
they
one second. Let me just focus on her real quick. Come on, because I do have two questions that I want to ask on her. So I don't want to tear off too much. Even Jewish newspapers in Mexico mostly focus on her historic win as the first woman to lead the country barely mentioning her Jewish background. So I guess the people of Mexico, they're not focused on whether you're Catholic or not. I guess they're voting for what are you going to do, to better the country. Now, with that said, right, because Mexico is at our border and we have a border crisis, Donald Trump, when he is elected president in November, he's going to have to work with her.
No, he doesn't. She's got to work with him.
Well, whatever. They have to work together. They're going to have to negotiate.
Because this is the most powerful military in the world and the largest economy in the world, even though it gets subverted often. Everybody's got to work with us. That's why Putin and the People's Republic of China set up BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, etc., to offset the economic hegemony of the United States and Western Europe.
Mm-hmm. So, with that said, what do you think her stance is going to be on when it comes to the border? Because they're just focused on, oh, she's the first woman and she's
I know,
Jewish.
well, that ain't the real problem. What's she going to do with the cartels who are slaughtering Mexican citizens left and right? Women, children, grown folk, old folk. It doesn't make any difference. What is she going to do about that? That's their preeminent problem right now. A lot of people didn't turn out to vote because they're scared to get out. They just gave up hope. They're hiding.
Right.
Which is where we're getting
I think so this is where I'm getting at, though. I think she's in the cartel's pockets. First of all, because you can't do anything in that country if you ain't doing business with the cartels. And she's running around here saying that, she believes in science. She's not a practicing Jewish person. What it says here, she was a physicist and climate scientist, so she probably believe in that what was that Green Deal, climate change.
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean. My major at UCLA was physics until Ronald Reagan got in, and I couldn't get the necessary class or two I needed to get that degree for 16 months. And the U.S. Army was saying, there is nice Vietnam over there. How about if you go take a tour for a year? So my advisor said, you can declare political science your major. What my hell am I going to do with poli-sci? Well, you can teach. I don't want to teach that shit. Well, go to law school. I don't want to be a damn lawyer, but here I am 55 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So, elected as the future president of Mexico. Claudia Sheinbaum, a climate scientist, the former mayor of Mexico City, will also be the first Mexican president of Jewish heritage. Early results show Sheinbaum winning up to 60% of the vote over her opponent. And this election will not only have major consequences in Mexico, but it could also impact us here in the U.S. President Biden saying in a statement, in part, quote, I look forward to working closely with President-elect Sheinbaum in the spirit of partnership and friendship that reflects the enduring bonds between our two countries. Let's get right to NBC's Guad Venegas live in Mexico City, and standing by, NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley. Guad, tell us more. Who is Claudia Sheinbaum, and why did voters choose her as their next president?
Anna, I should start off by saying that President Biden will be able to have conversations with her in English, something he could not do with current President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Sheinbaum, unlike the last two presidents, López Obrador and Enrique Peña Nieto, is fluent in English. She lived in the U.S. for some time while taking classes at Berkeley and Stanford. As you mentioned, she's an academic. She has a PhD in energy engineering, which gives a lot of hope to Mexicans that have placed a lot of focus on climate change here and on issues with energy, the cost of power, the cost of gasoline. So we expect her to focus more attention on how Mexico can move forward with the issues, sometimes with gasoline prices going up and also the cost of energy. Let's hear from Sheinbaum last night when she spoke to her supporters.
No llegó sola, llegamos todas, con nuestras heroínas que nos dieron patria, con nuestras ancestras, nuestras madres, nuestras hijas y nuestras nietas. Con los Estados Unidos habrá una relación de amistad, respeto mutuo e igualdad como hasta ahora ha sido.
The first female president in Mexico in the country's 200-year history. And last night, as you can hear her saying, that all women arrive at office with her together. As she said, llegamos juntas, we came here together, and also sending a message to the United States saying that Mexico will work closely with the United States. There's a lot that they'll have to negotiate, like immigration policy, also the economy. Remember that Mexico and the U.S. not only share a big border, but they're also each other's largest trading partner, Anna.
That's right. And I think it is particularly moving to see a woman elected president in a country like Mexico. As somebody of Mexican heritage, we know machismo is a big part of the culture. And to see a woman, that's just one more note as to how historic this election is. And Julia, what does it mean now for America's relationship with Mexico?
Well, it couldn't come at a more important time, Anna. As you know, we're expecting to hear as soon as this week something on executive action having to do with the southern border. And this policy, as we understand it, will rely heavily on Mexico to do even more than they've already done. We know over the last year, as we've reported here at NBC, the previous administration under López Obrador more than tripled the number of interdictions of migrants going north, most of those U.S. bound. And now with this new executive action, they could be asking Mexico to do even more to take back migrants who won't be allowed to cross the U.S.-Mexico border. Now, we know that in Mexico, they have repeatedly said under the López Obrador administration, which backed Sheinbaum, that they will work with whoever is president. They haven't wanted to come out strongly to criticize Trump or Biden. But we do understand from people within the Biden administration that there's really been a change in the way Mexico has been dealt with, really in a 180 from Trump to Biden, because the Biden administration says they treat Mexico like a sovereign equal, and that they go into these conversations about immigration, about fentanyl, about gun trafficking, something Mexico's really worried about, guns coming illegally from the United States. They're entering those conversations, treating them as equals, not putting pressure on them over trades and tariffs, just like the Trump administration did, and not using some of that really charged rhetoric that Trump did about Mexico when he was president and even currently. So this is for welcome news for the Biden administration to be able to keep really a very similar administration in Mexico, going from López Obrador to the Sheinbaum administration, because they are so closely connected. And the Biden administration would like to continue to do that work.
So I want to pause right there, right? Because Sheinbaum, that's how you say it. Okay, they're saying that the Biden administration is, glad that she won because it's easier to do business or negotiate. Honey, our election is November, so she's going to have to deal with Trump. So you have 3 months of bliss. And my thing is, and this is why, listen, this is mainstream media. I was just playing it because we're talking about the topic, and 90% of what they're saying is BS because, Biden is there, and they're both Biden and Sheinbaum. They're concerned about the fentanyl and the guns and the drug trafficking. No, you're not, because it's the drug cartels that controls the politicians in Mexico. And it is our homeland security that is allowing all the illegal drugs and guns to continue to come into this country, no matter what administration. And speaking of Biden, he did all of a sudden issue an executive order. He is expected to sign an executive action tomorrow that would temporarily shut the border when numbers surge. Daily encounters at the U.S.-Mexico border are currently averaging more than 4,000, which suggests a shutdown could go into effect immediately. Well, where in the hell was this executive action a year ago? And he's only doing it now because he's going to lose this election based on having allowed open borders.
May I add this? If he puts it into effect tomorrow, what is he going to do to restore security in all of these open points of flow where the wall's been torn down, where there are no impediments to just walking across, where there have been layoffs, lack of replacements for retired or transferred or leaving individuals? That just doesn't happen overnight, and the damage has already been done with several million who've come across. As you pointed out aptly, The cartels control the damn things. The gun flow, the illegal gun flow, is from Mexico to the United States, not the other way around. What they're trying to do is get under Article 6 of the Constitution that says ratified treaties are part of the supreme law of the land, and they're trying to get into what Obama boy was doing with his handkerchief head fake self, and get a treaty with Mexico that would be ratified, that would infringe upon the Second Amendment, since it would be part of the supreme law of the land as per Article 6. That's what they're trying to do. But the point of it is they've let in all of these illegals from all over the world who are armed heavily and ready and standing by to do violence to this country. The bastards do not have security in place. They don't know who these people are because they've lost track of them, and the citizens are about to be deprived of their way to defend themselves from these transgressions that are soon to occur. 2027, the People's Republic of China has said it is mandatory to be prepared to invade Taiwan and take it back. That is 3 years from now. And if somebody doesn't step in and turn things around drastically, they're going to deal with that timetable. And they already have several 100,000 identified young Chinese citizens of military aid who seem to be particularly organized and militant about their carryings on, and they are ready to go do what they need to do when they are ordered to do it. So it's a damn shame that the incompetent jerks in the White House have allowed this to happen, and in the observatory where the VP is. And also, this is another thing to try and popularize Hyena Harris Imhoff, the other Jewish somebody that's in the line of secession for the United States chief executive. So what are we doing here? That still won't work. People know her as an irrelevant hyena who's generally competent, incompetent, can't win a damn thing, but it's counting on, I guess, to reduce the opposition. So when he gets in, as he thinks it, he can retire and become the first president to ensure that a female became president of the United States.
Right. So you're going to have a president of Mexico, a president of the United States.
Jewish female president to become the first president.
Oh, you know she want to claim being Jewish, yeah.
Yeah, what's the name? Imhoff. She's married to a Jewish person.
She's probably going to start using her last name because she claimed black, and then she went back to claiming Indian, and she going to end up claiming that she's Jewish.
She adopted 2 Jewish children, so now that makes her a Jewish mama. So I don't have anything against Jews, but this is interesting, since now we can use Imhoff instead of her maiden name Harris. And we have a precedent set. We've got the first president of somebody in North America. Canada is female and Jewish. So I guess we can come up with female and Jewish being the first president of the United States female. Not that I have anything against Jewish people. Some of my
and that's right. But let me just say this too, because to that point, they're focusing on she's Jewish. That has nothing to do with that. The people in Mexico don't care that she's Jewish, and because they are majority, 90% are Catholic. It is about what can you do for this country. So first of all, you can't tell. Let me just say this: you can't tell that she's European descent, especially when she starts talking. She looks Latin. She looks Mexican.
Well,
you sound Mexican.
If you're Eastern Europe, you tend to have the same kind of physical appearance. Guess what? So bottom line is that what are we doing here? Is she going to be of concern to us? Is she going to be able to get a handle on the insane violence that's going on in Mexico?
No.
Stop the drug flow across the border. Okay. Is she going to really be somebody independent? Since I find it interesting that a leading candidate male for mayor in a city not far from Mexico City got assassinated past weekend. by some cartel folk.
Yeah. So, listen. Okay, all of the Mexicans, don't y'all come for me. When I said she look and sound Mexican, don't y'all come for me. Listen, it's a lot of Mexicans that check off white here in America. And
No,
they
but it doesn't make any difference. I just
no,
looked
no,
at
no. I'm just saying because there's a couple people in the chat is like, she don't look Mexican, you know, they're probably Mexican descent. So I get it. I'm just saying, me as an outsider looking in, I wouldn't knew she was Jewish or you know what I'm saying.
But you're thinking of it wrong. My 4th grade elementary school teacher was Mrs. Rodriguez.
No, please, I don't want to get into that.
No. I'm gonna get it. It's on point with what you said.
But make it 30 seconds.
Okay, yeah. I didn't like her at all. She wasn't a good teacher, but we spent most of the time in class. My husband and I are of Spanish descent. We're classified as Caucasian. We're not like these other Mexicans who are mestizos, mulattos, and she would make sure she ran down the whole panoply. We habla español, but we are from Spain. And she said, we are different because we are white. And we had to listen to this nonsense. And she was blonde haired and blue eyed. So I had to listen to that for a whole year, my 4th grade year. Now, back
I want to play this clip. I want to play this clip with Chuck.
Yeah, but that's the point. A lot of them. But here's one more. Well, but get it just very quick.
Let me just play this clip.
I just filled out a federal form.
Let me play. Okay, no, I don't want to get into the census. Let me just play the clip because we got to go on and talk about Trump.
Now more than ever, we're short of workers. We have a population that is not reproducing it on its own with the same level that it used to. The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
Lazy, bought off, incompetent, backstabbing, treasonous son of a bitch.
And that's why they're glad that that woman is president of Mexico.
Well, what I was going to get at on your point was this. When I filled out the federal form, the first box was Hispanic, non-Hispanic. If you indicated Hispanic, it was move on to box so-and-so. If you said non-Hispanic, it categorized white or Caucasian, Black, African American, Native American, Pacific Islander, and all this other stuff, Asian, blah, blah, blah. So what happens is when you're qualified as Hispanic, you don't have to qualify yourself for the rest of these distinctions if you are an English-speaking American or you're non-Hispanic. So they get this big lump sum, big jar, big category of Hispanic, whereas if you're English-speaking, you're broken down into races and ethnicities. See, that's what they do, which is good for their political purposes. Now, I've been in places where the majority of the people in there do not speak Spanish, but número uno por español. Why is it that Spanish has become the de facto alternative language? Are we going to do this bullshit that Canada does, where everything's got to be printed in English and French, au français, en français, et en anglais? Right. What are we going to? I was in Miami and I had to go to 3 separate terminals before I could find somebody working for an American airline that spoke English.
All right. So I want to go into Trump now.
Nothing against Latinos or anything else. Good people. But God damn it, this is America.
So guys, please hit the
United States of America.
Please hit the like button. Please share this video. And if you have a question, please send it via super chat. We're not going to have time today to drop the link for people to come up because the judge is just talking way too much tonight.
Am I?
Yes.
About your liberty and freedom and whether or not somebody you know dies, because 3,200 dead folk on 9/11, 2001 is going to pale in comparison to the death toll when this shit hits the fan. Most likely somewhere late 2026 or early 2027 when the Chinese have said they'll be ready to invade Taiwan. Or more recently, if Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas.
You see what I'm talking about? Like he just going on and on. So Thursday, I'll drop the link on Thursday because I'll extend the show 3 hours on Thursday, right? I'll drop the link, and then I also want to have a guest come up on Thursday. But anyway, let's get into Trump, honey, because he was on Fox. Thank you, Kat Randall. He became a member. What is this? Yeah. Can you hear this?
They could.
Can you hear that?
Judge could decide to say, hey, house arrest.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, house arrest. I said that 2 weeks ago.
All right. So this is a clip. He was on Fox News. Trump speaks out about his conviction. This is 14 seconds, but I have the extended clip that I'm gonna pull up from YouTube.
They could. The judge could decide to say, hey, house arrest or even jail.
It could.
Face what that could.
I'm okay with it. I saw one of my lawyers the other day on television saying, "Oh no, you don't want to do that to the president." I said, "You don't beg for anything. You just the way it is."
They could. The judge could.
Man, he's like, you don't beg for nothing. Listen, you.
Well, he said something else after this too that was interesting too.
Well, I want to see if it's on this
Constitution. I'm fighting for the same thing that you three. I watch you all the time, and same thing that you do. You fight for freedom. You fight for your country. These people are sick. They're sick. They're deranged. I talk about the enemy on the outside and the enemy from within. So you have Russia, you have China. But if you have a smart president, you always handle him quite easily, actually. We have a lot of advantages. But the enemy from within, they are doing damage to this country. They want open borders. They want high interest rates. They now want to quadruple your taxes. Quadruple. All my life I watched politics, and it was always like politicians want to lower taxes, not quadruple them. There's a whole sickness going on right now. So we're doing really well. It was a tough venue. We tried to get out of the venue. We tried to get out of the judge, but we tried to get out of both. Wouldn't even think about it. So we had probably maybe the worst area in the whole country for me, in terms of vote.
Office. What is your message? And by the way, I think a lot of Hispanic Americans, I hear from them, they're scared about what they see. What's your message to them about what happened to you and about how scared they are that our country is turning into the countries that they left behind, the corrupt, dysfunctional countries they left behind?
And they are scared, and they're great people, and very entrepreneurial, great energy. And as you know, I'm doing very well with them. I mean, beyond anybody, I don't think anybody's ever had polling.
Do you think this is why, a little bit?
I think a little bit. And they've always liked me, and I've always liked them. I've done well from the beginning. In 2016, I've had a lot of lawyers that weren't nice, and sometimes you're better off that way. These are really fine people. They had years they sued me getting my tax returns.
You're skipping ahead.
At the end of 5.
Yeah, I am. Because this is 11 minutes. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but basically, Donald Trump, he said,
basically, you got to do what you got to do. No compromise. If he wants to lock me up, he does.
Right. So, and I think he already knows if he gets locked up, that he's going to get more support. He raised $200 million since he was convicted last week, Thursday. 200 million
in 13 hours. And now the polls are showing he's got 54 to 56% of the American public, and Biden has got either 32 or 36%. There's a plus or minus 6% in there of error. So those are solid numbers. He's kicking Biden's little sissy ass. And by the way, one of the things I want to point out is I've been looking at some of the video clips and still photographs. This guy's got a problem with trying to pinch little 9-year-old girls on their nipples.
Stop. No, we're not. No, just stop. Just stop.
What about it? Talk about it.
No, we're not talking about that here. We're not talking about that here. We're not, and we can't. So no.
We can't? Oh my
No,
God.
no, not
in
that.
the United
It doesn't
States
matter.
of America.
Fine, let's move on. I want to focus on Trump because he also said, I want to bring up SCOTUS. Trump urges Supreme Court to act before his sentencing. Former President Trump on Sunday called on the Supreme Court to act ahead of his July sentencing after he was found guilty on 34 felony counts in his New York City hush money trial last week. Trump, in a post on Truth Social, complained that his sentencing in New York case is scheduled 4 days before the start of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, where the GOP is set to formally nominate him for president. The former president also used the post to attack Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who brought the charges against him, and Judge Juan Merchan, who oversaw the trial and argued it was unfair. Those two will make a decision which will determine the future of our nation. The United States Supreme Court must decide. That's what he put, exclamation point. So
here, what's happened is Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, announced that an investigation into Merchan and Bragg for interference with federal elections has already commenced. I think they're going to be in some hot water. Next point, what Trump is raising is very valid, but I think the best way to go would be for some Republican attorney general from some neutral or normal state to file an action which goes directly to the Supreme Court when it's between a state and another state. And New York, Florida, and Georgia need to be sued because they are arguably interfering with federal elections. And they would look to such things as disparate treatment, selective prosecution, and from the record as a whole, what the intent of the prosecution is, which is, as they have expressed, to take the election away from the American public so that they can control the process so that one party will get in. So the United States Supreme Court, if an attorney general for a state were to file that, would have immediate jurisdiction. Because of the fast approaching Republican convention, what winds up happening is, in order to disenfranchise a significant portion of the United States, which at this point looks to be the majority of the people in the United States, to keep them from losing their electoral college choices in reference to the candidates the electoral college aspirants have committed to support, that would be interference with federal elections. And Trump could file an amicus curiae brief on behalf of himself with the Supreme Court. That would probably be the most expeditious way to get it. So what needs to happen is some very quick orchestration by the Republican Party with its Republican governors and Republican attorney generals to get such a lawsuit filed. It wouldn't take much. And that would streamline the whole fashion. I always wondered why nobody did that. But since sentencing is 3-4 days before the Republican convention, I can see this stupid jackass Merchan, who is a foreigner by birth and brings, by the way, the governance and judicial temperament that is associated with his origin country, to the bench. I have never seen a more embarrassingly incompetent performance in the last 50 some years, and I've run into some real bozos before.
Let me play some clip of the speaker.
Knock it out. Now, what
I want to play the clip of the speaker.
Johnson, yeah, okay.
So what we'll do with our tools that we have in Congress, in the House, is we'll use our oversight responsibility. We've already done that. You saw our Judiciary Chairman, Jim Jordan, issue requests for Alvin Bragg, the DA in Manhattan, and for the lead prosecutor, Colangelo, to show up for a hearing on June 13th in our Select Committee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government, because that's what they've done. And the purpose of the hearing is to investigate what these prosecutors are doing at the state and federal level to go out, to use politics, political retribution in the court court system to go after political opponents of federal officials like Donald Trump. That's a really important thing for us to delve into. And we're going to look at Special Counsel Jack Smith, who we believe is abusing his authority as well. We have the funding streams. We have mechanisms to try to get control of that. We'll be doing that within the confines of our jurisdiction. And I think that can have the desired effect and show the American people we're not going to tolerate this. Shannon, at the end of the day, people are losing their faith in our system of justice itself, and that's a serious threat. So what will...
Let me play this.
I've been doing this for 50 years, and I'm losing mine.
Let me.
And by the way, don't leave that bastard Mershon off with his incompetent, crooked ass. He, against New York law, has been contributing heavily to the Biden campaign. His wife has. His daughter is managing $90-some million worth of campaign funds for Biden. That's grounds to knock yourself off the case and not take it. He didn't give proper instructions to the jury. He knows that shit he orchestrated and was presiding over is not going to stand up, but he doesn't care because he's likely to sentence by Trump the house arrest or restrict his leaving the state without his permission to attend the Republican convention, which would be held 4 days later. What if he sentences him to house arrest and he gets elected? Is he going to say you can't leave New York and go to the White House? Or you can't leave the White House and leave the country because I forbid it because you're on strict probation and that's a bond condition.
Which is why President Trump is urging SCOTUS to get involved. I want to play this next clip of the House Speaker.
We've confirmed that the White House saying the president is going to take executive action on the border. You've been pushing him on to do that for a long time. We don't know what it is yet, but do you give him credit for at least taking that step?
I don't, Shannon. It's too little, too late. Now he's trying to desperately show the American people somehow that he wants to address the issue that he himself created. We documented 64 specific executive actions that President Biden and Secretary Mayorkas at DHS took over the course of the last 3.5 years, beginning on the first day that President Biden took office to open the border wide. They did it intentionally, and it has had catastrophic effects upon our country that we'll be living with for decades to come. And now he wants to issue some sort of executive order, I guess, to show that, oh, no, he really does care about the issue. The only reason he's doing that is because the polls say that it's the biggest issue in America. Every state's a border state. I've traveled to over 29 states, done events in 117 cities as of yesterday over the last 6 months. There is an energy out there. People are motivated. And the first question that comes up in almost every public forum is, what about that open border and why in the world would President Biden allow it? He did more than allow it. He engineered it. And everybody knows that.
All right. So
we confirmed that the White House saying the president.
Sorry about that. So I want to go back to the Supreme Court because even when it comes to the border, when it comes to even with the Trump being sentenced on June 11th, what should the Supreme Court do? Should they intervene? You know, what can they do?
Yes, they should. It's a kangaroo court situation, and it's clear from the record as a whole that the entire purpose is to obstruct the election process. And another thing, Johnson, U.S. House of Representatives, could file an action which automatically goes to the U.S. Supreme Court because they're concerned about election interference. They don't usually do this stuff, but they could. So since all of these precedents are being set and the rules broken, things never done in 235 years since 1789, or take 3 from that since two from that, 333 years since the Bill of Rights was ratified in 1791. This stuff's never been done, except bozos get in there and they think they're special people, so they roll to stuff that the National Socialist Workers Party, aka the Nazis, did in the early 1930s to overturn the Weimar Republic and set up Nazi Germany.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so it also says here, Everybody coming at the Supreme Court wanting them to jump in on everything. Now, Alito, it says, America, we have another constitutional crisis on our hands. Amid all the well-warranted attention to Justice Samuel A. Alito Jr., who refuses to recuse himself from January 6 cases, despite reasonable doubt about his impartiality, spare some also for his equally ethics challenged colleague Clarence Thomas, who stiff similar recusal demands for more than 2 years. Within weeks, the Supreme Court would decide 2 cases related to the unsuccessful 2021 insurrection and to Donald Trump's role in the events. No matter how the courts decide, the outcomes will be widely questioned because of the polluting participation of Alito and Thomas. The courts most far-right members, and that's a problem for a court whose public approval rating is already at a historical low in the polls. So this is Yahoo News, right? And this
Yahoo News is bullshit news now.
But the reason why I'm just bringing it up, I wanted to highlight they're calling for Alito to recuse himself on the January 6th dispute, and that is because we didn't talk about this last week with some flags that he had outside of his house.
Did you upside down, and the other one, George Washington's flag with the pine tree.
Right. So yeah, exactly. What was that about?
Let me say this. Aside from this bozo article that you're quoting, the reality is in the justice system, it's known that humans have biases, favorites, favorite ideas, but it's like being a referee in a football game. The ball game is a championship game, and it's say for a college championship. So there's a visiting team. Do you think they're going to bring in referees from the visiting team's hometown, or are they going to get it from the hometown team's town? So what's expected is the referees are supposed to set their biases, prejudice, and hopes. I hope our local college wins, and they're supposed to call the shots, the downs, the penalties fairly. You see, that's human nature. In other words, if you are pro at this, you can maintain neutrality about the whole thing and do your job and keep what's inside of you separate and apart. Now, there is no reason for Alito and Thomas to recuse themselves. There's no apparatus to remove them, nor should there be.
Well, you know why they want them. They don't want.
I know why they want it, because they want to get some of this damn fascist bullshit through. So you do that, and you just say, "Hell with you! What you gonna do about it? Stack the Supreme Court?" Well, guess what? You have to win this November, and your ass is gonna get kicked. So look at this dumb bunny. What's her name? The lady that breaks down crying in public. That's on the U.S. Supreme Majorcas. Major, what's her name? And she breaks down crying, talking about the injustice of the conservative majority. And she starts
wait a minute. Wait, I saw that video.
Sotomayor. She breaks down crying. That's the most disgraceful performance I have ever seen from a judge.
Wait a minute, but she's not supposed to do that.
Of course not. I said in my 50-some years, that is the most disgraceful performance I've ever seen for a judge. You're breaking down, weeping, talking about my conservative colleagues have done such an injustice to American law, blah, blah, blah. Well, why the hell don't you get her to recuse herself for doing that public display and expressing a particular point of view on something that, because of her tears, indicates she can't set it aside?
Right. And that's what I'm like, first of all, that was unprofessional.
There's some hypocritical bad.
Right. Very unprofessional. That was unprofessional, and you were being kind of biased. Like, You don't take a side. Justice is blind. You sit
And
in
the other
highest
thing,
court.
your other thing, since they're detailed with stuff, you need to have the Secret Service or the U.S. Marshal's Office investigate that leak that came up with Roe v. Wade, where somebody inside the Supreme Court complex released the draft opinion to upset all of those people. That is totally in contempt of the court. So the U.S. Marshals ought to investigate it, and the U.S. Supreme Court ought to haul the offending parties before it, slap the shit out of them, and lock them up.
Let me share this. Was this the video? Wait a minute.
And by the way, who gave out the
Was
address?
it this one? Was it this one? Was this the video?
I can't see it. It's too small where I am.
Let me make it bigger. Or was it? I'm trying to find that video. Was that?
I don't know.
Because this is from a year ago.
Not appreciated as a district court judge or as a circuit court judge. How much solace I took in knowing that I was not the final decision maker. That I knew that if I made a gross error of some kind, that there would be a court above me to correct it. I learned over time as a
I don't know. I don't know if this is it.
I agree that that's weak. You have to say, I'm the judge in this and I have to do the best, and I'm not counting on somebody to overturn my errors. I got to do my job and do it right. That is so weak and pathetic. That is disgraceful.
Let me see something.
And that's like that head scratching fool that they put on there now, with due respect, who says, I don't know what a woman is.
Kantaji Jackson.
And by the way, I know some sisters, at least one of whom was on the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, two of whom were on the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, same as Kantaji Jackson, that would have been fine justices.
Right. I'm trying to find, what is this? Come on. I think this is it here. But I'm trying to find the video. Why the video isn't playing? Let me go out and go back in this one. It's always something. I totally forgot about this. Why didn't you remind me?
I just did. Hypocrisy.
I'm talking about before the show.
I didn't know you're going to do this. See the hypocrisy of it all. You whine and cry about the other side and forget what your own side has done. Typical propaganda ploy. You know you're dealing with a totalitarian, trending on fascist situation when this is done. It's a classic sign.
Right. Let me make sure that when I share it, people could hear it. Wait a minute.
By the way, when this social media, modern communications and internet stuff started hitting, when I first saw it I said, wow, this is going to be a relief. Think of all of these educated, well-informed people. And now you got a bunch of ignorant illiterates hardly. They can't read any damn thing. Everything's got to be in a 5-second soundbite. They've become so dependent on social media that what happens is the people that run the venues start censoring it like they're doing here, and we can't say stuff. So when they cut it off, the
Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Judge, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh my God, yo. I'm going back to StreamYards. I'm not dealing with this restream shit. I didn't even mute myself.
Right.
And it's muting me, and I didn't mute myself. And it's saying that, oh, it's not connected to the audio or some mess. I'm going back to StreamYards. I'm not using Restream. Oh my God.
hard work better. So does
we having
Zoom.
technical difficulties this show. All right, let me play this
Big
clip.
sister is watching. Oh, excuse me. Big brother, who is a tranny, is watching. He still got a dick, but he's wearing blue panties and a
Leave those
sports
people
bra.
alone. Leave those people alone, honey.
I'm not. They're fake. They're not good for
All right,
homosexuals or straight
can I play
folks.
this clip? Can I please play this clip? All right, wait a minute.
Justice Sonia Sotomayor turned 70 years old in June as the first Hispanic and senior liberal on the Supreme Court. Her trailblazing legacy is firmly established, but as Democrats are growing increasingly concerned about the 2024 presidential election, some fellow progressives say her time on the bench should now come to an end in the name of practical politics. Here's the Justice correspondent, David Spunt.
And to be almost 70 years old, this isn't what I expected.
Justice Sonia Sotomayor telling a recent audience about her work on the nation's highest court.
I'm tired.
That prompted some Democratic lawmakers and the liberal legal community to say publicly what many have been whispering privately. Thanks for your service, but now you need to, quote, weigh competing factors.
It's not like there's any mystery here about what the lesson should be. The old saying, you know, graveyards are full of indispensable people.
Their fear, a repeat of 2020, when Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg died suddenly, weeks before the presidential election. The liberal icon had resisted stepping aside in 2014 when President Obama could have named her successor. But President Trump was able to appoint conservative Amy Coney Barrett to her seat, who later was a deciding vote to strike down Roe v. Wade.
So the risks here are so high that I think Democrats and progressives in general
has no plans to step down.
What choice do you have but to fight the good fight? You can't throw up your hands and walk away.
Age matters.
Sotomayor or any other justice.
Is it justice or for a political, social point of view? Same thing they're accusing Alito of and Thomas of.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so, you know what? I can't.
By the way, she's 70. Oh, my God, she's so decrepit. I'm 77 in a couple of weeks. Well, several weeks.
Yeah, same generation.
I really feel decrepit. No, hell no. Bullshit.
I saw the video earlier when she was making that comments, and I don't know. I must have been doing something else. I don't know. I
where she was crying and talking about
I can't believe you have
how
that
she's
video.
so upset, how these decisions are so awful, and they're upsetting her little liberal point of view. Okay, fine. You know, I find it interesting. There's nobody on this U.S. Supreme Court that got out of law school before I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a major law
first
through the front door, unaffected or unassisted by affirmative action.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating. My goodness. So I disagree with this bullshit. I used to be a Democrat, but then they started doing this tranny thing and this anti-gun thing.
Stop talking about. Oh, here we go.
Get off of them because they are fake to everybody.
Here we go.
And they upset this thing about male courtship, female courtship, whether you're talking about a wolf, a bear, an elephant, you know, they're vive la différence between the sexes, and you can't tell what you're looking at. Right now, what used to be the favorite sport around the world and in America is gone. Boys used to girl watch as a favorite sport, and girls used to boy watch as a favorite sport. Now nobody looks at anybody because you don't know what the hell you're looking at. And the boys and girls don't need to learn how to deal with each other, which dealing with the opposite sex is probably one of the most difficult jobs or tasks in adulthood, learning how to cope with it.
All right, Judge, let me play this clip because we have two more things to talk about. Let me play. I found the clip. Let me play it.
I'm enjoying myself. I need a little.
If not physically, we must devote our lives. Mind you, there are days that I've come to my office after an announcement of a case and closed my door and cried. There have been those days, and there are likely to be more. There are moments when I'm deeply, deeply sad. And there are moments when, yes, even I feel desperation. We all do. But you have to own it. You have to accept it. You have to shed the tears. And then you have to wipe them and get up and fight some more.
Well, I don't know.
You know, in the entire 235 years of the United States of America, there's never been such a series of remarks by anybody ever on the United States Supreme Court. The justices kept their mouths shut, what they were going to do close in hand, like a poker hand in a high stakes game, and they did not run their mouths off commenting on social issues. The courts are supposed to speak through its orders.
Mm-hmm.
So are the individual judges or justices. Not get out here and talk about this. They are supposed to discuss the existing law with the public so the law understands it, not get up here and give emotional reactions to the thing. That is so totally inappropriate. And if she were on a lower level where there was a review situation for the performance of the judges, that would be something subject to discipline, because it conveys a false impression to the public of what the business of being on the bench is about.
Okay. All right. So,
and look, bitch.
What'd you say?
Witch.
Oh, I thought you said the B word.
No, I didn't do that. I have one of those around here, and she's a lovely dog. I wouldn't insult her.
Let me pull this up. Fani Willis get tentative hearing date and Trump bid to remove her from the case. So she finally she gets a date. So Donald Trump appeal of the judge order declining to disqualify Fani Willis from his Georgia election interference case now has a tentative docket date for October. Willis, the Fulton County District Attorney, indicated Trump and several other co-defendants for charges relating to the 2020 presidential election results in the state and a violation of state's racketeer influence and corruption organization, aka RICO Act. Trump, the presumptive 2024 Republican presidential nominee, has pleaded now guilty, and some of his co-defendants have sought to have Willis disqualified from the case of a relationship she had with Nathan Wade, an attorney who was appointed as special prosecutor in the Fulton County District Attorney Office. So it will be in October.
Now, here's the other thing, too. Judge McAfee set it up beautifully, and he left it to they're on a higher pay grade to go resolve it, but he set it up beautifully in his order. And his Dom Bunny did something I found absolutely extraordinary. She has my dumb crook in my entire legal career of 50 plus years. She's got dumb crook number one. It changed from she and Wade engaging in malfeasance to now we find they've been laundering money from the evidence. That's the inference. They have engaged in embezzlement. They've been engaged in misappropriation of public funds. Now we know there's a missing $7.5 million that was supposed to deal with a backlog of inmates. We now know there's $500,000 that's missing that was supposed to be for juvenile matters. We know there was $2 million that was missing that had to do with the jail situation. We know that she had the last say on approving whether or not Wade's claims got paid. We had $720,000 that they probably split from what's going on. And I swear, from it being a RICO case against Trump and the defendants, which was pretty shaky on what they were doing, in line with the RICO case against the school teachers, in line with the RICO case for the rap lyrics against the rappers. She incriminated herself by getting up there, hand on hip, snake charm head shit, and got up there and gave one of the dumbest goddamn series of responses to stuff that nobody even asked her. And she incriminated herself and Wade in one hell of a RICO case. One hell of a one, organized crime. And what we wound up with is money laundering, income tax evasion, failure to make proper reports to the state authorities, misappropriation of public funds, trying to profit by this whole damn thing, and getting into a hell of a trick bag with IRS. And the fool not only might not survive with her law license intact, she might not stay in office, and she might wind up with some penitentiary time on the federal system. And she might not be as lucky as that heifer out of Baltimore who got house arrest instead of being properly sent to jail for being
Mosley. I think she should have went to this. So you said
Mosley.
Let
that
me
was horrible. She didn't match the sentencing guidelines for being given any slack. She tried to accuse the judge, the system, and everything. She got on Breakfast Club and confessed to her crime, trying to portray her innocence. And what she did, since she didn't testify at trial, she fessed up, but she didn't know it. And she's the DA, head of prosecution in that large, classic, original American metropolis.
Let me, all right, reel it in. So this is what I want to say. This is what I want to say about, no, reel it in with Maryland. I want to go back to Fani. This is what I'm
know. This one, I'm pointing at which here, Red Witch.
Right. Well, you were just talking about Maryland. And
well, they're the same. It's a cookie cutter. You can snap out and get Letitia.
It's mammies going wild. Yes, we know the mammies are going wild. But I want to go. I want to focus right here with her, because let me add this onto your list. She stopped, Judge. Come on, I'm trying to talk. She's also blocked the grand jury from inspecting Fulton County Jail. Her and Sheriff LaButte. So it's a lot of things that she's doing where she will be considered breaking the law.
By the way, the grand jury can proceed upon presentment independent of the district attorney and indict her for obstructing justice. Might be really funny. And guess what happens when you get a grand jury? It goes this way. You qualify as a judge. I've done it. A whole huge jury pool, 4,500, 6,500 at a time, several sessions during a day or several days. And out of that, kind of drawn out of the hat, they pick at random a number of people to be assigned to the grand jury when they are not sitting on petit juries. So usually a judge supervises what happens with them, and they invite the district attorneys to come in and make what they call request for approval of indictments. So
let me add
a bill of indictment in the grand. Just briefly, if they submit, the DA submits a bill of indictment, particulars for an indictment, and what happens is the grand jury signs off on a true bill, somebody's indicted. But without the DA, or where the DA is the subject, the foreman of the grand jury can call for proceedings, independently call witnesses, and return a presentment if they find there is probable cause to believe that an official, such as the district attorney, the sheriff, or somebody, or the mayor, has in fact committed a crime, and get that person processed so they wind up in front of the criminal court. So you don't have this situation where the district attorney and the sheriff block investigations of something they have to do with, which would reveal criminal wrongdoing.
I need to bring this up because we talked about that already. You don't have to regurgitate and go in detail.
We have listeners
talked about. Let me bring this into the fold. This is something new. In her efforts to prosecute Trump for election interference, Fulton County DA Fani Willis will be helped by Donald Trump hush money convictions. On Thursday, the former president was found guilty on 34 charges falsifying business records over $130,000 worth of payments to Stormy Daniels to keep alleged affairs secret. Trump denies it. While the trial is over, Trump still faced criminal charges in Georgia. So basically, they're saying legal experts said that Willis could learn from the hush money case when prosecuting Trump. Quote, I don't think it would have a direct impact unless Trump, a convicted felon, wants to testify. This is Matthew Mangino, a former district attorney in Lawrence County in Pennsylvania. If anything, it provides a roadmap to prosecuting former president, something that didn't exist prior to yesterday. So it can Trump's conviction in New York City be used in Fani Willis' favor?
Well, it's on appeal, so no, it can't. And the other thing is Georgia law is not necessarily the same as it is in New York as to proof of other crimes.
Mm-hmm.
See, and this point too, he didn't plead guilty. Now, if he pled guilty in New York, that could be used. The conviction, depending upon the state, it would depend on whether or not it is a final conviction or just an initial one. See, it ain't over till the fat lady sings. So we haven't had the motion for a new trial yet. We have not heard the first tier of appeals, which has 5 black judges on the first level out of 7 judges for the New York metropolitan area. Then it goes up to the state Court of Appeals. Then it goes to the Supreme Court of the state. And see, the interesting thing is everything from a trial judge up in New York is called a Supreme Court judge. So then we get into the federal district court, the federal court of the federal circuit court, which is local to New York, and then the federal district court of appeals, which is the second located in DC. Then you have the U.S. Supreme Court. If the whole thing does not get snatched out of there and go directly to the U.S. Supreme Court, because it impacts a national election. Okay. So when it impacts all of the states, each of those states or somebody acting on their behalf or a beneficiary of the circumstances can go directly to the U.S. Supreme Court, which, when the matter is one state versus another, has original jurisdiction. One state versus New York, another, well, simple. It's the people of the state of New York against Donald Trump et al. So what winds up happening is the state of New York, acting through Dumb Bunnies, Bragg, and Mearshon, did impose something that impacts and influences other states, which has a bearing on whether or not their slate of electors from the state in question has an opportunity to exercise its discretion appropriately in terms of who they want to select for president of the United States. So yeah, it's not going there. Plus, this thing is going to be delayed to October. The election is in November. This stuff isn't going to trial in October. This stuff will not be tried until sometime next year.
Right.
So the other thing is the item on appeal that she's going to have to testify to is whether to remove her. Meanwhile, she's defied a lawful subpoena from the state legislative body to give testimony and evidence in front of them, which they have the legal authority to do. And by being a sworn officer, sworn to uphold the law, she's violating that, which is a crime under Georgia law, and she becomes subject to impeachment for refusing to obey the law. So she's got her own problems. She may not be around in October when this thing gets heard.
Okay. All right. I want to move on to, this is the very last topic, and I don't want to stay on this too long, but it does need to be discussed. This came out today. Appeals judge halt Atlanta DEI grant fund for Black female-led businesses. It says, and let me read it.
See who's in the picture?
Let me read it. An 11th Circuit Court of Appeals panel halted an Atlanta venture capital fund small business grant program for Black women Monday, a major victory for conservative efforts to dismantle diversity, equity. Hold on for a second. An 11th Circuit Court of Appeals panel halted an Atlanta venture capital fund small business grant program for Black women Monday, a major victory for conservative efforts to dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in corporate America. In a 2-1 ruling, the judges said the Fearless Funds contest likely violates the Federal Civil Rights Act of 1866 that prohibits the use of race in making contracts. The 3-judge panel, consisting of 2 judges appointed by former President Donald Trump and another appointed by former President Barack Obama, also found Fearless Fund is unlikely to enjoy First Amendment protections, and its program inflicts irreparable harm. Therefore, the appeals court panel reversed a September decision by the lower court judge and put a preliminary injunction into place. The case is one of the more prominent legal challenges on DEI programs in corporate America, and today's ruling is a setback for supporters of those initiatives. I muted you because it was some feedback.
Okay, problem here. Well, I'm not even seeing anything that says that, but thank you. Here, look, problem is that I have said over and over the last few years, you cannot have anything that favors one race or ethnic group over another. When you have a situation that, say, awarded the Japanese damages for being unlawfully, unconstitutionally confined during World War II, or you award something to Native Americans or even Jews for suffering during the Holocaust, there are different criteria. You see, you may have Hasidic Jews, you may have Slavic Jews, you may have Western European Jews. So it's not based on race. It's an identifiable category of people who specifically and individually suffered at the hands of a thing that the U.S. government decided was something they should have intervened with. When you're talking about Native Americans, Indians, American Indians, Amerins, you're talking about a different thing, which under the constitutional scheme says they are members of a sovereign entity. A tribe can have treaties made with it, so the treaties become supreme law of the land, and to an extent they supplement or supersede certain other constitutional provisions that allow this to happen. The same thing when you start talking about Asians. There were a number of Asians who were designated by their enrollment in certain concentration camps during World War II. And they were identifiable, and the U.S. government said we acted wrong, so they are entitled to individual specific damages by individual status known and recorded, not as a group, not all Japanese, just those who got locked up. So anyway,
let me read this section right here real quick, because it said in August of 2023, the American Alliance for Equal Rights, a conservative nonprofit, sued Fearless and its foundation over its Fearless Strivers Grant contest, which awarded 20,000 small business grants to Black women. The alliance was founded by Edward Bloom, the activist behind the group that successfully challenged affirmative action in colleges and universities. Bloom's organization alleged the grant program violates Section 1981 of the Reconstruction Era Civil Rights Act of 1866, which prohibits discrimination based on race when making and enforcing contracts. The alliance argued Fearless is entering into a contract with the application, and because the grants are only for Black women, is racially discriminatory.
Also, how about against Black males? I don't recall the women.
So the question I want to ask you, so when we talk about Black businesses, yes, they get the less funding out of the NBA, Small Business Association, federal money. But when we're talking, but when SBA, yes. But when we're talking about grants, you cannot use your race. You cannot get
They
a
have to
grant.
be race neutral.
It has to be race neutral, unless it's reparations, because like Jewish people, for the Holocaust, Japanese, even the natives here in America, unless it was unless it was a specific harm done to a specific group, but that would have to be approved and allocated via Congress.
That's what you call enablement, Appropriations and Enablement Act. Congress has to say it's okay and pass an act. See, there's a thing called sovereign immunity. You cannot sue the government, local, state, or federal, unless they give permission. It's called sovereign immunity. So if they give permission, they can streamline the thing when they say, we think this is so egregious, we're going to not only give them permission to proceed, we will sidestep the proceedings and just grant them the relief because we did wrong. Some states have this thing where it is discovered that somebody was wrongfully convicted and has done time. They pass private acts where the legislative body specifically awards this individual damages, which they could not otherwise sue the state government to get. You see, these are specific things that deal with the concept of sovereignty.
So if it is a private company or a private organizations that want to create a fund for Black women-owned businesses, that is fine. But when you're talking about grant,
no, it's not just fine. Under the 10th Amendment, if they impact interstate commerce or communications, all of the other rules apply. In other words, if they are a small operation and there's absolutely no impact on interstate commerce, they can do what the hell they want. But if there's any impact, however slight, they're stuck with the same rules as all of the rest of the.
So let me give this example. If the company Coca-Cola, if they have allocated $10,000 to Black-owned women businesses, but you have to apply, via application. And if you're selected,
because how many people buy Coca-Colas in interstate commerce?
What I'm saying is, so because they do have such programs, Verizon has such programs.
They're liable. I have told people you have to make this stuff race neutral. And if you're smart enough, which was what was happening in the late 60s, you read it, you drafted it race neutral. But even if
what I'm saying is,
listen to me.
What I'm saying is the private sector.
The private sector could discriminate against you, keep you from eating in a restaurant, segregate you, but they can't because they impact interstate commerce. That's the only way that you have civil rights applying across the board is because of the Commerce Clause. Now,
they do have these private entities do have funding,
but they can't do it.
But they are doing it.
But they will get stopped. See, the way you
haven't been getting stopped.
No, they will be. See, it's just been nobody's gotten around.
What about when they have minority? So if it's not,
let me explain what
it would say minority.
Let me explain how it's supposed to work. And we knew 55 years ago, and we worked it. But some people who said it was unfair to them, they just wanted Black or Hispanic or whatever. It works this way. Let's say that there is something affirmative that's given to anybody who can demonstrate that they grew up in a family in a certain kind of economically depressed neighborhood with limited resources in their public schools, with a demonstrated statistically poor performance on all of the aptitude tests, achievement tests, etc., that are given. And you can say anybody that comes from a situation like that, race neutral, will get a benefit. Okay, that's not race exclusive. It could be anybody, but the fact of the matter is more likely to be somebody that's either poor, white, black, or Hispanic or something else. So you achieve your resorts. But see, some people aren't smart enough to do that. And just like some of the fools we deal with, they're always spouting off about doing wrong. They owe us. Yeah, but you can't do it that way. So what happens
let me bring this up. Let me bring this into the fold. I don't want to keep. We're short on time here. Black entrepreneurs in 4 major cities can seek 10,000 grants from Verizon: Houston, Miami, Phoenix, Los Angeles. Black entrepreneurs are among small business owners who can go after new rounds of $10,000 grants in 4 of the nation's largest cities. In partnership with Next Street and local initiatives support corporations, the Verizon Small Business Digital Radio online platform is geared to give under-resourced small businesses the free tools needed to help them flourish and succeed in today's digital economy. Now, Verizon, so this is Black entrepreneurs. They also have Latino entrepreneurs. So there are private sectors like Verizon or other companies or initiatives that have these grant programs for different groups of people. But so with this particular case that came out, let's go back to this. With this case that came out today, halting the DEI, which I can't stand that word, grant fund for Black women-led businesses, then that will, because the judge ruled against that, that will in turn harm the other Black entrepreneurs programs, not just for Black people, but for Latinos, for immigrants or whatever. So basically, that's going to wipe out any type of special grants or any type of initiative or programs designated specifically for Black people. Where did he go? I don't have time for this right now.
Okay, I'm back on. It dropped off.
So did you hear what I'm saying? So
I didn't hear much of what you said after I stopped talking. Go ahead. But I got the drift of it.
No, you didn't. Let me just quickly. What I'm saying is Verizon. I don't know if you caught that part when I talked.
I did.
All right. So Verizon and other private entities created initiatives.
I got that.
Right. So with this judgment here, saying that this DEI grant fund for Black female-led businesses is unconstitutional, right? Is that?
Yeah, it is. It's as per American law. Yeah.
Let me fucking finish. Is that because you said you didn't hear me?
I heard that part.
Is it going to harm not just other programs specifically for Black entrepreneurs, but for Latinas, Indians, immigrants that have?
Yes.
So it's basically going to wipe out all of these programs.
It's been that way for 50 years since what happened up at Berkeley, California. It's been illegal for 50 damn years. Race can be considered, but it's very expensive with a lot of red tape to challenge stuff in the American federal system. Now, that's why it's been surviving.
If it's been illegal, why did you needed a judge now to
overturn
this judgment? They were being sued.
Because a lot of judges are amateurs. A lot of lawyers are amateurs. There's one over here right now who chases ambulances, so to speak. What's he doing in the picture? He's never filed an appellate brief, so what's he doing in the picture? See, it's a hustle for a lot of people. If you want to get this business, you draft it as a neutral thing where people are being discriminated against because of their circumstances. You can't say that we're going to give an advantage to a certain category of people. You can say we can make a certain category of persons not identified by race equal or even, but you can't give them an advantage.
So you saying not identify by race, but identify by circumstance.
That's it. We said that back in the 1971 and 72.
And then you got, can you be specific? Identify by circumstance in this particular city or this.
Okay, fuck the city. That's the problem. They're trying to identify the city. In other words, what they have to do with the grant is people who are suffering adverse economic situations due to their gender. And then you got a whole line of garbage over what's gender that these damn trannies have come up with now that is impacting stuff like this. And I don't know how the hell they'll get around it. If you have people who are coming from certain backgrounds, who are of a certain gender, who have been discriminated against in the finance market when it comes to set up businesses, then you set up a program that allows neutral to apply. And you good and well better put some poor white women in that damn thing too, and some men also. Because when you exclude the men, you're setting up a gender biased situation.
Right.
So they aren't smart enough to do that, or they're going blockhead stupid, and they got to say, there's got to be black women, the sisters get discriminated against. Well, they are also open to a lawsuit, the same kind, saying it's against black men.
You're discriminating against everybody else. So you're claiming discrimination when you are discriminating against.
Yeah, it's called reverse discrimination.
Reverse discrimination. Okay.
It's Bakke is the case. Bakke versus Berkeley Medical School. Bakke.
Okay.
And they collaborated with some black medical students to help set it up, because we tried to tell the selfish bastards then, don't screw it up for all of the rest of the black folk in the country by saying these independent neutral factors will be disregarded, and you selfish bastards want them just to say you're the best black folk without saying why that makes you less than everybody else. It's reverse discrimination. They did it anyway. Bakke was in the wings. They had an agreement that Bakke would be admitted and get a full financial load. So what happens is the Negroes get in, everybody else black in the country gets screwed for 50 years because of these selfish bastards. See, this is dumb stupid. And she's looking, she should have known, and dude over here probably doesn't even know.
All right. That's it.
So, oh, by the way, what the hell is he doing in here?
I have no idea. I don't care. And this is the last topic. I'm ending the show as soon as I go through these super chats, because it's running late and I got shit to do right about now tonight. And it went way over, and I'm tired of going over the 2-hour mark. This is why I told you, come on, just get straight to it. So let me just say this. Don't say anything else right now. Let me get to these super chats. Thank you, Kat. I've been a judge, Joe Brown. I've been a judge, JB, since the 90s. This new platform displaying his opinion with the ages of experience is really cool to ingest. Thank you, Kat. Appreciate you. When you have guests on, Dana, do they have the same problem as the judge? No, unless their Wi-Fi is low. So no, it is him. Well, you know, the situation with Big Brother. Thank you, Common Man. He says, here you go, Dana. I may be late, but I'm here and I made it. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Thank you, John Smith, for becoming a sponsor. John Smith again, membership gift. Angie, membership gift. AC Guy, membership gift. Thank you. Voodoo Klitsch, membership gift. The judge is so right, Dana. Please don't have normalcy bias. Is going to be a big problem. Thank you, Booted 5.0. Sheba Dog and
samurai armor.
Yes, waving a banner saying number 1. Thank you so much. Fiber Warrior, people are celebrating that President Trump can't go to 37 countries because he's a felon now. Shake my head. Much love and respect. You and Judge Joe Brown, thank you so much. And thank you, Common Man, again for the lovely donation. Here you go, Dana. You made me feel embarrassed Sunday. How did I make you feel embarrassed Sunday? I said thank you when you gave me a compliment. Oh, when I said, did you ever donate? I was really only kidding because you are a consistent listener from the beginning. So I always appreciate you, Common Man. Thank you so much. All right, guys, listen, this went way over and I'm tired of doing this. And I always tell you, Judge, I'm tired of going over the 2-hour mark. I have to cut him short. I don't care if y'all get an attitude. I really don't give a shit. I really don't care. Yes, I will cut him short. Let's move on because we are 40 minutes over. Sometimes I allocate at least 15, no more than 30. We'll pass 2 hours and 30 minutes. So that's what I'm saying. I will drop the link Thursday. I will extend it to 3 hours and I will be cutting him short again on Thursday if he is prolonged. I'm sorry. I just can't sit here. My ADHD kicks in, whatever the case may be. So it is what it is. Y'all go have an attitude. And there's one person I end up blocking because you are not going to come in here and tell me how to run this shit. But anyway, hello to everybody on X. X is popping right about now. It's over 500 people listening on X. Love you guys on X. Appreciate you. Everybody that donated, love you the most. Go get Judge Joe Brown barbecue sauce, jjbbbq.com. I put the website right there. The link is in the description. You can also go on Amazon and get it. We are doing X Space tomorrow, open mic. It's more sensory free. And of course, we're going to be back here on YouTube Thursday at 9 p.m. And you can catch me by myself on Wednesday. So anyway, we'll see you tomorrow on X. Say goodnight, Judge, and just say goodnight.
Hey, I won't be around much longer. Life is getting late, so
and that's
ain't
another
free
thing.
yet.
You talk like you about to drop dead right now. That's why you so
I know. Look,
you about to drop dead.
If I get 15 more years, I'll be in my 90s. I know how fast 15 years passes.
True.
Life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it runs out. So when I say this, I'm looking at I'll be dead, buried, and rotted away or burnt up and spread ashes somewhere. Somebody will throw me away or kept on a mantelpiece. So I will be, well, I don't know. You want them, I don't care. Dead then. But the bottom line is I will be getting all of the rest that I need permanently for the rest of eternity. So might as well say it's time to get free. I've been around long enough where people have been trying to keep that from happening. But this is for everybody else. Be strong, focus on what's going on. Don't let the okie doke get you. A lot of times when people are telling you you're getting done wrong, they're bullshit artists because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And like this last subject, for 50 years, people have been saying, make it race neutral. You can get everything you want to get the race help or ethnic help you want. You just have to make it neutral. Be smart enough to craft it. Now, that said, go on about your business. Have a good day. Sleep tight. Maybe you can get some tonight so you can get rested and stress relieved by the morning. Everybody.
Can you please, if you have in your will to be cremated, that I want a little piece of your cremation?
That sounds creepy. Damn, that sounds creepy.
It's not creepy. I want to be cremated and I want my kids to keep me on a mantle in a pretty vase. So I want to piece of cremation.
I think the
Why can't I have piece of your ashes?
I think the burn up dead meat needs to be thrown to the four winds.
But where would you want your ashes scattered?
I won't know about it. So what the hell do I care?
Because it has to be symbolic. Like, you know, like
That depends on you having somebody that would be interested in things being symbolic. These days, hell, nobody gives a damn.
I'm one of them. Just like if you want to go to Valhalla, you have to die with your sword in your hands.
I have several in hand. Give me my sword.
Being cremated, you have to have your ashes scattered over someplace symbolic. So,
by the way, Valhalla sounds a lot more interesting than some other places. Can you see floating around on a cloud, drinking milk and honey, and the sour breath you'd have from both, and how bad you'd be feeling with nothing else to do for eternity except float? That sounds horrible. I think I'll go to hell and take over from the devil after staging a revolution or something.
No, the devil don't want you. You're a troublemaker. The devil don't want you there. They're like, no,
I have an acute sense of righteousness.
Just go to heaven. Go to heaven, honey. Just go to heaven.
I'd rather continue to cause trouble. Now,
but he don't want you to cause. The devil don't want you to cause that kind of trouble.
I'd go toast. I'd help him toast some people that need it.
Well, if you went Valhalla, that's not heaven or hell. So that's something
and
else.
It ends in Valhalla. There'll be Ragnarok at the end when the forces of evil take on.
Give us a history lesson right now. Thank you.
Well, I mean, that sounds exciting.
Okay. All right. I know the chat is so sensitive. Southern Belle and Catalia, I love you guys. Everybody in the chat, everybody listening, everybody on X, everybody who donated, love you, love you, love you. We'll see you tomorrow on X at Judge Joe Brown TV on Twitter and at The Real Dana #7. Bye. Say bye. Oh, wait a minute.